Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ron Briggs, and in this episode we'll be looking at actually getting the roof on, or certainly all the roof trusses and all the roof timber work, all the roof framework. So where are we at? So it's the 29th of August, we're still in August. The bees have all been checked, all the colonies are all queen right, they've been checked for stores, and first lot of treatment is now on all the colonies, and the nukes are all looking good for next year. We got the honey off, honey's in buckets and in jars, and my customers are actually delighted we've actually got some honey again. So all is good on the bee front. So now on to the honey house. So you remember we put that, we did the roof on the floor to start with, and we showed you how to do that. So you can pop back to that video if you like, to see where we're at with that and how we got to the stage we're at now with the roof behind me. So basically I made the roof on the floor, or I made a pattern for one roof truss or two roof trusses. I've put those on the end there with just a temporary fix, just to make sure all's good, and then using that pattern I've cut a load of roof trusses. Not quite enough, we need to get some more timber to finish that off. So that's the next thing. So the next thing we're going to do is double check that's looking good at the end there, and knock up a support for the centre ridge beam, and then we've got to cut all the birds' beaks out, and so on and so forth. But we'll show you that as we go. So stay tuned and see how we go. I've just got a piece of 1 inch, which is going to be my the same measurement as my ridge piece, and I've just married it up there, just so that I can check that there and there looks good, along with my bird's tooth at the end, and I'm completely happy with that. So that's why I've cut all the roof joists with the timber that I had. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 or 4 pieces of timber, but one for each side, so something similar to that. Stands up right. Yeah, which will be the correct height. I don't know if it'll sit in there. So that's going to basically sit up in there. 2 of those with a 1 inch piece of battening in the middle, and I'll put 2 this end, 2 the other end, and that can support my ridge, which will make it easier then to put all my roof joists on. And I'll show you that as I go. Right, so let's talk about how we cut out these bird beaks. So we got our original pattern. You remember that on the previous video, showed you how to work out everything that needs to be done. So now I've got the pattern. All I've simply done is I've got a piece of timber, which is I've cut to exactly the right width, where it needs to be marked, and I've also marked a line on there. So if I line that up, parallel with that end, and where I've made the mark, if I put it exactly there, and then where I've made the mark, then I just make a little mark pencil line, and then because this is square, all I've got to do is line that up there to draw that line. Right, and that gives me what my bird beak looks like. Then on my table saw, I've set my table saw to 22.5 degrees. I turn it up and I make that cut using the table saw that way, and then once we've made the cut that way, I then take my circular saw and I cut that way. So that's starting to look like it needs to be now, and then all I do is flip it over, and then I just take my little Japanese saw and cut the last bit out, and then once that's done, that gives me my bird beaks. So 34 of those to do. So there we are, finished for the day. We'll pick up some timber tomorrow whilst we're out for the last little piece to run in there. We need another 8 lengths, 4.8 metre lengths to do the roof trusses, and then there'll be some noggins etc to go in there. So yep, that's it, and see you on the next one. Morning, beautiful day today, although I think summer's on the way out and autumn's definitely on its way in. Leaves are starting to change, it's starting to drop its leaves now. So as well as having my own bees, I'm also a member of the North Dorset Beekeepers, the North Dorset Beekeeping Association, and one of their help out of their apiary and one of their tutors. We run beekeeping courses, so if anybody is in North Dorset area, wants a beekeeping course, check out North Dorset Beekeepers. Website's really good, and even though I'm a little bit biased, the courses are superb. That said, there's a lot to be done in that apiary as well as my own apiary. So as well as trying to build this honey house, we also sorted that out at the weekend. So that's all the syrup for the winter feeds for the association apiary. We've got a few guys over and we knocked that lot up. It was we thought we got away this year with the wasps, but they soon showed up when we started making that lot. So I've got to deliver that today to the apiary. So and the other thing we got to do today is deliver some honey. Maybe like this. We got to deliver some honey, and the other thing we're going to do today is pick up some timber. It's looking quite something now in the morning sunshine. Pick up some timber today, enough to finish the roof and the last few bits we got to do in there. So no work will be done on the honey house today, apart from picking up some supplies. And I think the other thing we'll do today is we'll order the windows. Right, see you later. So back on it today, well, might not be for long. We're into getting these roof timbers up now, and that could take some time for 2 reasons. One, we've got to run up and down ladders, and 2, we've got forecast of heavy showers today and thunderstorms. So with that in mind, I won't be leaving any tools out, especially my chop saw, which is mains powered. So today's going to be a case of get the tool out, use it, put it away, get the tool out, use it, put it away, just in case there is a shower. And I was just about to start filming and we got a shower. So I'm underneath the wisteria at the moment, and the rain's staying off, so I thought I'd start today's video in here. So if you're building a standard shed, it's quite easy to work out the distance between your battens and your rafters, because you just start at one end. You know that a sheet of timber, if that's what you're going to be using to cover on the inside, is 1220 wide, 1220 millimeters. So you just make sure the center of the battens, apart from the first one and the last one, is 1220 millimeters apart. Where it's got difficult for me is I've got the 2 walls. Now obviously from the walls I've got to start on both the walls and the ceiling. I've got to go 1220 for each one. So that's not that difficult, because what you do, the first one on the wall isn't 1220 because you're actually starting from the edge of the wall. So from the edge of the first batten to the center of the second batten is 1220, so the middle one is 610. When you're going from the first one along the rest of the wall, then you go 610 centers, 610 millimeter centers. So what that's doing to the roof is something similar. So when the rain stops, I'll get up and show you what we're doing, but we have to go from the outside of the wall. Then we have to have our battens, roof joists measured at exactly 1220. So if I start at one end and just go 1220, 1220, there's going to be nothing to support the outside of the walls, to support the outside of the sheets of material on the ceiling. So we need to think about that. So how am I going to do it? Well, first of all, this part, which is the potting shed, that's going to have no internal sheets on the walls, apart from the back wall, which is going to be the back wall of the honey house. The rest of it is not going to be sheeted. It may be in time. What I should do in there is any offcuts of sheet material I have now or in the future, I'll put them up in there and I'll just retrofit it to make sure they fit. So I don't need to worry about that. I don't need to worry about where the joists and the battens are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from this wall. So I'm going to start from that wall, and I'm going to have my first joist and roofing piece in here. And then from there, that way I can go sheet, 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 sheet this way. And then from there I can go sheet that way. So that's what we're going to do. So the moment this rain stops, we'll get on up there and I'll show you how we mark that out. So although it's raining, it's not, I don't know if you can hear it in the background. You might not be able to because of the rain, but it's certainly not stopped the bees on the lavender. Can't see any honeys on there. But there's plenty of bumbles. That's the common cader. In fact, all of them on here this morning are common cader. So they're obviously not too worried about these showers. Go on, girls, get it pollinated. So life's just got a little bit more complicated. We're up on the ladder now. We have just had a shower, though it's brightening up now. So we're working at height. We are got tools, we've got pieces of timber, and the ladder's thing's slippery. So I don't think we're going to be working long today. But let's see if I can get this shown to you and laid out and measured out before it rains again. So as I said down there, this is the wall that we're going to have our first roofing joist from. So imagine this is the roofing joist, and that's going to be up there like that. All right, and that is going to be right on the center of this wall. So that's going to be on the center, but what I need now, I'm going to need a fixing here to screw my first, or nail or screw my first sheet of material to, running that way. So in there, running along there. So what I'm using for my ridge pieces is 4x2 CLS, same as what I've used for the walls, and that'll be absolutely fine because it's not going to be a lot of weight. It's going to be a metal roof similar to that one over there. So, but what I'm going to use for my actual ceiling joists is some 6x2 sawn. All right, so this here is just an offcut I've got of the two. It's going to be 6x2, and the 2 actually in this case is 46mm. All right, so if I then put that joist running along there, I've now got a fixing for my first board, and I can now start to work run along. So that's going to be up like that, and that's going to be into there. Now this one is the only one that's going to be slightly different. So this one's going to actually have 2 ceiling joists running off it, one for this room and one for the room next door. But that one, because I've got all the support I need with the 6x2, all that one needs to be is a bit of another piece of 4x2 CLS. So that's kind of what that one's going to look like. So, and then what I should do, I should run my sheets that way for that room and this way for this room. So now I've got worked out exactly where that ceiling joist is going to go. I can now work back this way and work out where all my joists are going to be. So this first one, the measurement's going to be slightly different, because what you'd normally do is you're normally going to go 610 millimeters between the middle of each joist. So it'd be 610 millimeters between the center of that joist and the center of the next one. However, because it's the first one, we're not going from the center, we're going from the outside. So on this first one, it needs to be 610 millimeters from the wall to the center of the first ceiling or the second ceiling joist, because this being the first one. So I've measured that, and that is there. So there's my 610 mark. Now remember, that's the center of the joist, and I know that my joist is 46 millimeters, so it's going to be 23 millimeters each side of that will be where my next joist is. So something like that. Cool. Now from there then, now when we move on, we know that I'm just going to move position. Just move in position. I think the bees know that I'm doing stuff to help them, because I've got this little assistant just coming to help me. Okay, so we've seen we've got this one in. Now on that side we had ceiling joist, and then it was the roof joist or the roof beam. So on here then I need to work, so I had my ceiling joist on the outside of the beam, the roof joist, the roof truss, and this being the ceiling joist. The roof truss is on the outside of the ceiling joist for this wall. So I've marked with a cross on the left on this wall, on the left hand side of the ceiling joist, where the roof truss is going to go, and I'll mark that all the way along. Then we can keep that, we know we're keeping that central. Okay, so now for this one then, now we know for our piece of timber, our board, that we're going to go 610 millimeters between centers. So that's going to be 620 millimeters from the center of this joist to 610 millimeters to the center of the next joist, and then from the center there all the way to the wall we know it's going to be 1220. So there we go, we got the support for the sheet, full sheet of timber, and then the next sheet of timber can start there. So it's going to be useful for me because working at height is obviously a bit tricky. If I can make life easier, I will. So I know now that the distance between here and here is 564 millimeters, and I've worked that out because if you work out 610 center to center, then minus the width of one joist, which is 46 millimeters, gives us a measurement of 564. What I've done, I've cut a bit of timber, 564. Now that's not going in there, that is literally just to aid me. So instead of measuring every one, I can just use that as I go across. And then the other thing we need to do, as I said, the ceiling, the roof truss is going on the left hand side of each one, so that can just be marked where it's going. So we'll have ceiling truss, roof joist. Now the other thing that we can work out now, which is going to be so much useful for us when it comes to actually building it, the distance then between roof truss so the distance then between roof truss and roof truss we can now work out is actually 570 millimeters, or 571 I think. So now I've got that measured here, I don't have to measure because that's going to be my noggins
to strengthen up all the ceiling joists. So I've got that measured now, which saves me doing it when it's all in place, so I can have a load of those cut whilst I'm cutting other material. So that's it. So all I've got to do now is carry on all these joints, all these joists and markings along the way. So if I put my set square on there, exactly on that line, and then I take my piece of timber that I've marked at 564mm, and I can place that on there. Then I can draw a line on the end of that, and that marks where my next joist is going to go, ceiling joist. And then I can mark the other side of the ceiling joist, and then I can move my square up to that mark and just carry on all the way down. We'll need something to secure the last piece of timber to, but we'll have a look, see how that fares, how that goes, as to what we need to do when we get to there. We followed that same pattern all the way, but when we came to this wall, it was slightly different. Actually, the distance between them, from, I don't know if you can see number 10 over there, actually ended almost directly onto this beam, which I thought, oh, actually that was good, but it's not quite where it needs to be, because remember, we've got to have this overlapping here in order to connect with the sheet material too. So it was just a bit too long. It almost needs to go about there. So that's not a problem. All that's going to happen is this particular one between these two is going to be a bit shorter, but that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. And so that one's going to go in there, and then the next one onto there for 12, 13, and then there'll be one on the end at 14. So that's this side marked out, and all we've got to do now is repeat that same procedure on the other side. Okay, another top tip here, how you can use your tools. I haven't got my chop saw out, and I'm loath to get it out just for make one cut, obviously because it might start, that storm might come in whilst it's out, which I really don't want. But you can use your circuit saw and a square and get a really nice cut. So I want to make a cut here at 166mm. So on your circular saw, you've got the piece, it tells you where your cut line is. So all you've got to do is, first of all, measure the depth. You can set the depth on your circuit saw to the exact depth of your piece of timber. I've just put a scrap piece underneath as well, just in case it's a bit too deep, so I don't want to cut the rest of the timbers. And then you take your square and your saw, and all you do is you mark up your cut mark, hold your square, and then that should give you cut line. And it was just a bit deep, hence having the scrap piece of timber there. So just started spitting, so it looks like we're in for another shower, so this is perfect timing. I can just finish off this bit, what I need to tell you, and then been made a cup of tea and a Kit Kat. Look at that, or coffee and a Kit Kat. So we'll get into some shuttle and we'll drink that. So as well as putting all the markings out, which you saw me do for where all my roof trusses and ceiling joists are going to go, the other thing I needed to work out was where to cut my timber for my ridge piece. So I'm only using 4x1. It's literally just got to hold it up and space it until it all gets tightened in together. So that's all I'm going to use as a ridge piece. And they come in 4.8 metre lengths. So I've measured the 4.8 metre length, and I've got ceiling joist here, ceiling joist here, and the 4800 comes there. So there's just not quite enough meat on it to join it there. So I'm coming back one in between these two joists, and right in the centre there is 4,400 millimetres. There's my centre. All right, so one piece needs to be 3,400, and then from there going that way is 3,340 millimetres. So by cutting those two, that'll give me my joint. Now, I'm not actually bothered about an overhang. I'm going to cut it square. My overhang is only going to be 4 inches on each end, and I'll show you how I do that when I come to it. So we also know that the distance between the two joists is, I think it was 550 or 564, wasn't it? So it's 564 between the two. So what I'm going to do is I'm then going to cut another 2 pieces of 550 to sandwich these two together when I join them, to join it all together. So anyway, coffee. Well, that rain has held off. It's brightened up now, but it's close. There's hardly any air movement. I think we are going to get that storm that's been promised. But so far so good. We've managed to crack on. So what have we done? Well, the first thing is we've cut all the rest of our roof joists, which I'm pleased about, because if I don't see another bird's beak, it will be too soon. That took quite a bit of time. We've got that last bit of timbering up there. Remember, I was a little bit short. That's done. We've got our other support on that side to match that side, ready to our ridge beam. And our ridge beam's been cut, and I said these pieces have been sandwiched together so it can all be joined in one length. What you might notice is that it's just a bit lower. So the actual top of the ridge, where we've put these panels on, is just a bit lower, and the reason for that is that the ridge is going to go in at an angle. The roof trusses will go in at an angle, and obviously we didn't want this corner to sit proud of the truss. So that's why that's a bit lower. So that's in place now, ready to lift in. I might have to get some help to do that. As I said, we've cut all the bird beaks. All the rest of the roof trusses have been cut, and the last thing I'm doing now is just measuring a few things when I'm up there. So on that roof truss, I have measured and marked a line there, which is exactly where my roof truss is going to go. Something like that. So that'll be the first one, which is on that wall, remember? So that's marked. The reason we've done that is when it's up there, it's going to be easier to see. It'll be in the right place. And for a similar sort of thing, just because it's easier whilst it's on the floor, I'm also measuring where my noggins are going to go. So it didn't really matter too much on the roof. So basically we wanted it somewhere kind of, so between the edge of the bird's tooth there and the top, so roughly somewhere in the middle. And you'll see I've made 2 marks, which are at 127 and 130 from the edge, right from the very end. So it's easy to mark, and I'm just marking them on the ends. So when that's on the roof, that'll be facing downwards. So when I come to put my noggins on, I won't have to measure whilst I'm up there and keep moving ladders around and get someone to help me, because the marks will already be in place. And the reason for the 2 marks is we're going to put one on that side like that, and then we'll put the next one on that side like that. Bit of a gap in the middle, and it just means that when I use the nail gun, I'll be able to put 2 nails in that side, 2 nails in that side, and the nail gun won't foul it, so it'll be staggered. That's what that's for. So what I'll do now is get on and mark the rest of those up. Then we'll probably have a bit of lunch, and then we'll get on and we'll raise the roof. So I haven't done a lot of recording. We've been properly dodging showers today, just trying to get things done, but we're getting there. So first thing is that we got the ridge piece up, which went up relatively easy, and then that allowed me to get the two end ones on up there loosely. It's only in with a couple of screws. We've got the middle one in. Do you remember as we were marking out? So this is the one we're going to take all our measurements from. That's all in and all square, and we've got the first 6x2 joist in, but it's only in at the moment held by some speed clamps, because we've got to cut the ends off it. So that's the I'm not going to do all of them to start with. I think what I'll do is I'll take that one down, cut those lines, make a second one, maybe even a third one, using that as a guide, and then see how we get on, and then just again it's just rinse and repeat. The roof's coming on, and what I noticed was when I was about these birds' beaks, is if you look how that one that overhangs at the moment, the one right on the end. You can get a closer look here. It overhangs. That will straighten up, but I noticed that if I'd have gone with my original plan of having a piece of 6-inch 6x1 on the end to finish it and for the guttering, etc., by the time I put the bottom piece on, it may well have fouled the window. I'll show you. So yeah, so that one has not been cut, and I thought it might, by the time I get all the timber and everything else, it might foul the window. So what I'm doing now is I'm literally cutting them straight, and that way by the time I get my 1-inch finish on underneath that 1-inch, probably be 4x1, then that should finish that off nicely. So again, these blooming roof joists still not finished yet, so what we're having to do is, all I'm simply doing is going right angles to there, making my mark, and then cutting my mark off, cutting it off there, and I'm just doing that as I go. The other thing which you saw me doing earlier is I'm cutting the ceiling joists. So if you see up there the ceiling joist, we had to cut an angle off each end so they didn't foul, to make sure it works. So that's what we're doing. So the other thing we're doing is, if you remember earlier, we made those pieces of timber. So that's a 571 millimeters. What we do is put that up there with a clamp, speed clamp, and that marks exactly where the next battens got to go. It just makes it easier for me to get on. So screw in to start with, a couple of screws in there, put the one in to there, one screw in there, go and put the other one, make sure it all looks good, and then just go around and tighten it up with a nail gun. So that's what we're doing. We got a roof on. We didn't do a lot of filming yesterday, partly my fault. I run out of power on the phone, and we've been rushing because we desperately want to get this wrapped, because we've got another whole load of bad weather coming in. Because once it's wrapped, it's watertight, then we can take our foot off the accelerator. So you can see we've got all the beams in now. Beams and joists are all in. Joists are in. We've also got these end battens in to be able to join the cladding to when we eventually come to it. We've gone inside. We've gone 6x2 joists all the way down, but you can see there's a couple. There's one here, for example, which is the 4-inch CLS, And the reason for that is it's on the other side of that joist, which is what's actually doing the work, but that one is literally going to be just to support the ceiling panel when it gives me something to screw it to. And I've done that on both of them, and actually worked quite well actually for me. The distances, there's only one or two which are slightly out as a result of it. Because we desperately want to get it wrapped, we've not done all the noggins yet. We still need those to do in the roof. All we've done is the end ones, and obviously the reason we've done the end ones is because it wants to be nailed from the outside, and obviously needs to do that before we put the wrapping on. If your span, either from edge of building to edge of building, is less than 2.5 meters, you don't need any noggins. Up to from 2.5 or up to 4.5 meters, you need one noggin around about centrally, and over 4.5 you want two to go in at roughly third distance. So mine's over 2.5, but it's not quite over 4.5, it's 4.2 meters end to end, so it only needs one noggin. So I thought long and hard about what I'm going to do, because of obviously I want something to also secure the sheets to, because what I found in the past is that if you're securing sheets, you've got a nice hole, you're all the way along the edge, all the way along the middle, and all the way along that edge, but when it comes to the middle there's no support, and over time you start to see the roof just sag a little bit. So this time I want to put a support on the end of each one. So I've decided what I'm going to do there is I'm going to fit the panel first. Well, I'm going to put a row of noggins down the middle, 6-inch noggins to match, right down the middle for the required support. And then what I should do is I should probably use some 3-inch CLS on the end of each panel, just to give it something to secure to. And I'll show you that when I come to fit the ceiling. So we've still got all the noggins to do. So we've only done those end ones over there, so we could get to them. But I think it's more important that we get it wrapped before that weather comes in. So the only other things I've had to do then is when it comes to the edges. Now there's a number of different ways, because you've got to think about how you're going to support your panels on the inside. So one way is to let me show you from the other end, it's easier. So you'll see when we put the wall together, one way is to have a double 2 to start with. So that's the actual end of the wall, and then that one gives me something to secure the my panel to. So that's your standard way. Nothing wrong with that, nice and secure, nice good way to do it. And the other way is called a Canadian joint, and what that is so that's the edge of the wall. This is the post. This is the post for the upright, and then the wall's behind that. So all we've done is we've taken a piece of timber and turned it the other way, so that in essence it gives me then something on the inside to get my wall onto, and that's called a Canadian joint. I don't really favour one over the other, to be honest. With this one, once it's all wrapped, you can get insulation behind it, which you'll need to do. So I should be able to get a good 2 inches of insulation behind that. But that with the timber as well, it can be more than enough insulation there. So the only thing you have to bear in mind is if you've got the other type joint, then you need to get some insulation in it before you wrap it, because you won't be able to get in there again. Strictly speaking, the way your walls come, this is in the corner, so it really shouldn't affect your insulation too much, but you can just fill it up with offcuts, which is what I've done. Just filled it up with offcuts, and then your belt and braces then. So that is it. So that is now done, and we are now ready for wrapping. So that concludes that video. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next one, when we'll start to get this thing wrapped and get it watertight. Thanks for watching.